In this segment, we are going to focus on the teaching tips that will help you become more successful when engaging children in physical activity. The first teaching technique that I think is probably the most important is the use of music. It's very, very important to have some type of music in the background for children because a lot of songs can be just natural movers for kids, and we want to really try to keep them moving as much as possible. So one of the tips that I really think concerning music is pick music you like that's upbeat. There's no reason to have to go out and buy kids music when they'll move to anything as long as there's music playing. So pick at something that you're going to enjoy. I like to use what I call home bases when I'm doing any type of a lesson, and they're simply shelf liner or a poly spot where kids can go back and they can be in a shape where they can be on the floor, and children can just stand on them and use them as some place to mark the floor. So for example, you could be doing an activity and maybe you finished the activity and you could tell everyone, okay, now return back to your square, or please go back to your shape that's on the floor. And they can go back to that while you grab another piece of equipment, or maybe you are transitioning to the next thing. Another technique that I would really suggest is labeling your walls. Label your walls with some type of poster that maybe will catch the kids' eyes, maybe a Spider-Man poster, a Monsters University poster, something that you can refer to throughout activity time, or maybe you're going to have kids go stand next to the blue wall, or maybe they'll go sit down against the red wall. And you have those things labeled so that you can always use them as an easy transition tool when you're doing physical activity. Another thing that I would really suggest is take any distracting equipment out of the area that you're trying to teach physical activity in. And this can be really difficult because a lot of times they're in your living room, but don't be afraid to maybe push them to the side or cover them up and try to take away anything that they can get to easily. And the reason that is you could be starting an activity and all of a sudden one of the children will be doing it for a minute. Maybe they get tired and they're going to kind of wander into an area where they're maybe playing with a ball or a car or something like that can really be too distracting for them. One of the things that a lot of home providers struggle with are trying to transition from maybe circle time or their entrance activity or snack time to the physical activity. And one thing that people have to understand is that children are very visual. Don't be afraid to take some type of item, maybe a hat or maybe a foam pool noodle or something that you can pick up every time and say, all right, boys and girls, this is physical activity time, and now it's okay to run in the living room, or maybe it's okay to jump in the living room, whereas maybe you had a rule before where they can't do those things. But what they really need is some type of visual so that they can express, or they can realize that, oh, okay, snack time's over, and now we're going to have that chance where we get to do the fun games in the living room where we maybe can be a little more active. Another really important aspect of teaching children games is to repeat the directions. It's very difficult to get a 2 to 5-year-old child sitting down and listening to directions. But if you can kind of interact with them as you give the directions, it'll help. In other words, go over the quick directions, maybe 2 steps, 3 steps that you have to go over, and then have the children kind of in some way act out the direction. Maybe doing, if you're having them pick up 2 items, and have them say, okay, show me how you're going to have 2 items in your hand, and you have them demonstrate it by putting 1 in each item, 1 in each hand, something like that. But definitely repeat the directions and also demonstrate the directions. Something that I would really encourage you to do to make physical activity time fun is use stories, use your imagination, and also pretend with them. Don't be afraid to use characters from cartoon movies, from shows. Don't be afraid to interact and act like you are one of those characters. Because what's going to happen is the children are going to remember that part of the game, and that's what's going to draw them into wanting to participate in physical activity again. So really, really use your imagination, and if you act enthusiastic, you will become enthusiastic. Probably one of the second most important things when it comes to physical activity is giving it a purpose. And what I mean by that is kind of bring it from the classroom. In other words, don't just have the kids running around for 3 minutes. Have them moving with a purpose that maybe they're covering shapes during your circle time. Well, instead of just having them move, have them maybe move to certain shapes around the room. Maybe have them act like or try to demonstrate with their bodies what a circle is. But really try to move them with the purpose of some type of classroom content. Numbers, letters, object recognition, animal recognition, something like that where they are you can kind of teach them while they're moving. An easy tip if you're going to do a physical activity time where the adult is leading the time. In other words, the adult is teaching something and you guys are doing it together. You really want to make sure when you're doing that, don't start off with free play time. In other words, don't let the children just say, okay, in 5 minutes we're going to pick up and then we're going to do a game. Because what happens is it's very difficult to reel them in, and it's very hard to have them do the activity that you're going to do because their minds are still into that truck that they were just playing with.